Welcome, Rabbi Say, to a Chazara Shiur on Sugya Tes Zayin. Sugya Tes Zayin is a Geshmaka Sugya. In part, it's a continuation to Sugya Tes Vav, but as we always do in Chazara Shiurim, we explain everything that you need to know for Sugya Tes Zayin. So even if you don't know Sugya Tes Vav so well, you'll be able to follow this Chazara Shiur. So let's go right ahead, starting with some Yediyas Mukdamas. Now, some of these Yediyas Mukdamas, things that you need to know first, are a Chazara. You know them already. Starting with Mamoin Hamutul B'Safek, money that lies in a doubt. Let's say I borrowed from someone, I don't know who do I pay it back to? There's a doubt, there's a Safek, who do I pay it back to? So one of our options are Uki Mamoina Achezkas Mari. Set the money on the holdings of its owner. Meaning whoever's holding on to it now, let them continue holding on to it until we figure it out. Also known as Uki Mamoina B'Chezkasei. Establish the money in its chazaka. Whoever's holding on to it now. And remember these words, because we're going to use this phrase, and we're not going to translate it each time. So remember, Uki Mamoina B'Chezkasei, establish the money where it is right now. Next option is Misfeika Mafkina Mamoina. Over a suffix, we take out money, pay everyone off. Take out money out of pocket and pay everyone. And the third option, which is actually new, we didn't have it last sugya, is Yachloiku, divide it. Half-half. Now, let's move on to some more Yediyas Mukdamis about Yerusha. What is Yerusha? When someone passes away, Lo Yaleinu, all of their belongings goes as an inheritance to usually their son. If they don't have a son, it goes to their daughter, or all the different dinim of Yerusha, inheritance. Now let's talk about the dinim of Yerushas Isha Ubna, the inheritance of a woman and her son. So let's say a story like this. Let's say this is what happens. Avram gets married to Sarah, and together they have a child by the name of Yitzchak. Now, unfortunately, Sarah passes away, so Avram remarries to Hagar, and together they have a child by the name of Yishmael. Now, what's the relation between Yishmael and Yitzchak? They are half-brothers. Now, as part of the story, Avram passes away. And now Hagar has, let's say, a nephew, let's say her sister's son, okay? Hagar's sister's son, Utz, okay? Another name from that time period. Now, Hagar has a field that she received from her father, let's say, okay? And there was no other boys in that family, right? She only had sisters, and she has a field from her father. Now, what's if Ha'isha Mesa? What's if the woman dies? Who gets the field? So her son, Yishmael, is going to get the field. Now that Yishmael has the field, what's if Habein Mes? What's if the son dies? What if Yishmael dies? Who's the closest relative to Yishmael? Not his cousin, but his half-brother through his father's side. And it's very important to remember that Yerusha always goes through a father. Okay? So the field now will go to Yitzchak. But that is only if Isha Mesav Achkach Ben, if the woman died first and then the son died. Then it will go to Yitzchak. But if Bein Meis V'Achkach Isha, if the son died and then Hagar passed away, that means that Hagar was alive longer. She held on to the field. She owned the field for longer. Then the inheritance is not going to go to Yitzchak, because there's no longer a connection over here. Hagar is not really related to Yitzchak, so very close. So it's going to go to Utz, Hagar's closest relative. Okay, because Hagar lived longer, so now it goes to her closest relative, which is Utz. Now, one last Yediyas Mukdamis, one last thing that we need to know. Bari ושמא, bari adif. Means certain, and maybe, if you have two people in court, one is saying, for sure, I know this for a fact, and the other one says, maybe it's possible, I don't know, then we listen to the one, bari adif, the certain one is better. We listen to the one who is certain. And with that, let's go on to our sugya. Now, we learned in last sugya a Mishnah from Maseches Yevamos that's very much similar to our Mishnah. The Mishnah goes like this. Gazal echad mechamisha. If someone stole from 1 out of 5 people, the and he doesn't know from who he stole. From which one? This one says he stole from me. And this one says you stole from me. You don't know who to pay it back to. Now, in last sugya, we learned the opinion of Rabbi Tarfon, that you just put the money between them and you go. Our sugya is going to be focusing on Rabbi Akiva, the one who argues with him. Rabbi Akiva says, Loizu haderech, this is not the way to take this fellow out of doing an avera. Ad sheyeshalem l'kol chad v'chad, until he pays each one. So now comes our Gemara and says, Abiy says to Rava, what do we see from here? We see that Rabbi Akiva holds, over a suffix, we take out money out of pocket. We make them pay, pay extra. I'll ask you a contradiction. Says Abiy to Rava, we learned the Mishnah Maseches Baba Basra. No, if a house fell down, collapsed, Allah valimai on him and his mother, okay, the house collapsed and Hagar and Yishmael both passed away. Now, the inheritors are arguing. The inheritors of the son of Yishmael, Yitzchak, are saying, she died first. Hagar died first, Yishmael got the field, now Yishmael died, so I get it. On the other hand, and the inheritors of the mother is saying, Yishmael died first. Hagar lived longer, she held on to the field for longer, and now I should get the field. So what do we do? What is the din? Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai both say, divide it 50-50. Rabbi Akiva says, I admit in this case, that we leave the belongings in their holdings. Whoever's holding on to it now should keep it until we figure it out for sure. So what do we see from here? We see from here, Rabbi Akiva holds, establish the money where it is. So which one is it? What does Rabbi Akiva hold? Does he hold take out money over a suffix, or set it where it is? Now, if you're wondering, why does it say, Rabbi Akiva says, I admit in this case, that's because, in general, in all different cases of houses falling, and we don't know who died first and who to give the inheritance to, in all these cases, in general, the opinions are very straightforward. Usually, Beis Hillel holds, establish the money by whoever's holding on to it now, and Beis Shammai holds, including Rabbi Akiva, because Rabbi Akiva comes from Beis Shammai, and he holds like Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai holds Yachloiku divided. So over here, in our case, Beis Hillel admits to Beis Shammai. Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai both hold that Yachloiku, that you divide it. And Rabbi Akiva says, even though I'm from Beis Shammai, this time I agree to Beis Hillel and Ukim Amayna B'Cheskasa, Shanachasim B'Cheskasa, meaning leave the money in their establishment. But we're left with a kasha. We're left with a contradiction. Over here we see Rabbi Akiva says, Misfeika Mafkina Amayna. Take out money over a suffix. From here we see Rabbi Akiva holds, Ukim Amayna, set the money where it is. So which one is it? And for the Gemara, very simple. Over here, it's a case of Shema and Shema. Maybe and maybe. Right? Ut says, maybe she died first. Maybe he died first. Yitzchak says, maybe she died first. So therefore, set the money where it is. That's why Rabbi Akiva holds over here. Set the money where it is until we figure out for a fact. But over here, this is Bari V'Shema. All the five guys are saying, for sure, it was stolen from me. And he's saying, maybe, I don't know. So this is a case of Bari V'Shema. All of them are certain and he's maybe. So therefore, you need to pay each one. Let's learn this Gemara inside the Gemara. Let's put the Gemara also on the board. But if you have an actual Gemara, it will be so much better for you to look inside an actual Sefer, a Hiliga Sefer. And you should definitely try to read the Gemara with us, b'dibur, verbally, out loud. So the Gemara actually becomes one with your body. You're putting an action into it, not just listening. You're putting an action to it, and your whole body is doing a mitzvah. Let's go Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Beis, about a quarter down from the top of the page. Amar le Abiy le Rava. Frag the Gemara. Amar le Abiy le Rava. Abiy said to Rava, Mi Amar Rabbi Akiva. Did Rabbi Akiva say, Loizu haderech, this is not the way Ma'itziatu midei avera, to take him out of doing an avera. Ad sheyishalem zela l'kol chad v'chad, until he pays what he stole from everyone. Does Rabbi Akiva actually hold that? Alma, what do we see from here? Misveika mafkina mamayna. Over a suffix, we take out more money and pay everyone off. V'lo yamrina, we do not say ukim mamayna b'cheskas mari. Establish the money by whoever's holding on to it now. Now Abiy comes with this question, and I'll ask you a question. I'll ask you a contradiction, No, we learned in a Mishnah in Maseches Baba Basra. No, fal habayis. If the house fell, a love on him, Valima and his mother. Yershe haben oimrim, the inheritors of the son, meaning Yitzchak, say, the mother died first. So Yishmael got the inheritance from his mother, and now we get it from, Yishmael got it from his mother, and now Yitzchak gets it from Yishmael. And the inheritors of the mother is saying, the son died first. Ut says, no, Yishmael died first, so Hagar lived longer, she had the field for longer, now I should get it. Now what's the din? Elu va'elu, this one and this one, meaning Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, these ones and these ones, Moedim, they admit, they agree, Sheach Loiku, that you should divide it half. V'amar Rabbi Akiva, and Rabbi Akiva says, Moedani bazu, I admit in this case, Shanachasim echeskasam, that the belongings stay in their holding, meaning whoever's holding on to it now. So what do we see? 1 second. What's going on over here? On one hand, Rabbi Akiva holds, Misveika mafkin on mamoina, we take out money. Over here, we see in Baba Basra, Rabbi Akiva holds, Uki mamoina, let it sit by whoever is holding on to it. And for the Gemara, Amar Leis, they said to him, Rava answered to Abiy, Hossam over there, by the case of the house falling, Shema v'Shema. It's a case of maybe and maybe. Both are saying maybe. If he stole from 1 out of 5, Bari v'Shema. That's a case of certain and maybe. All the 5 people are saying, you for sure stole from me. And he's saying, I don't know. So therefore, you need to pay all of them. Rashi the Brahmas loizu haderech. This is not the way. Rashi comes to explain, like, where did this fly in from? Like, what are we even talking about? Loizu haderech zok Rashi. What are we even saying? Seifa, this is the end of that Mishnah. The gazal echad mechamishahu. It is the end of the Mishnah of gazal echad mechamisha. That he stole from 1 of 5 people. B'yivamis and maseches yivamis. Nafal habayis alav alimai. If the house fell on him and his mother, zok Rashi, ve'ein yadua, and it's not known, we don't know, which one died first. V'hayu le'imai, and his mother had nechasim, belongings, mibeis aviyah, from her father's house, meaning she got it from her father. Yershei ha'em, the inheritors of the mother, mishpachas beis aviyah, the family of her household. Oimrim are saying, likroivei haben, to the inheritors of the son, mimishpachas aviv, from the son's father's family, meaning Yishmael's half-brother from his father's side, like we said in the beginning, Yitzchak, through the father's side, very important, haboim lirash haben, who are coming to inherit the son. Yitzchak, who is Yishmael's half-brother through the father, right? He's coming to inherit Yishmael. Haben meis rishain. Now, Ut says the son died first. Haben meis rishain. V'lo yorash es imay, and he did not have a chance. He didn't inherit his mother, so he never owned it. Lo hoyrish eschem, to inherit to you nechasim, these belongings. Ella, rather, what happened? Haben meis rishain, the son died first. V'achar kach meis imay, and afterwards his mother passed away. V'anu yarshim isa, and we inherit her nechasah, her belongings. V'yarshei haben emrim, and the inheritors of the son say, that the mother died first. V'yirasha b'na, and her son Yishmael inherited her. V'achareha, and after her, after Hagar passed away, meis haben, Yishmael passed away. V'anu yarshim isa, and we inherit him. So what's the din? Elu v'elu, these ones and these ones. Who are these ones and these ones? Says Rashi, Beis Shammai u'Beis Hillel. Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. That argued in other cases of nephilos. Nephilos means fallings. Cases of buildings falling, houses falling, and people dying. Beperek mishames and perek mishames. Shebeis Shammai oimrim, the Beis Shammai in general, they say, Yachloiku, you should divide it. Ubeis Hillel oimrim, and Beis Hillel say, Nechasim echezkasan. Let the belongings stay in their possession, whoever's holding on to them. Kan, over here, however, moedim she'achloiku, they both, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, both agree that they should divide it, that they should split it equally. Amar Rabbi Akiva, moedani bazeh. Rabbi Akiva says, I admit in this case, however, afal pishani mishel Beis Shammai, even though that in general I am from Beis Shammai, I hold like Beis Shammai, v'oimer, and I say, b'sha'ar hanafilos, in all other cases of when buildings fall, yachloiku, that they should divide it. Bazu, in this case, ani moide lebeis Hillel, I admit to Beis Hillel, shanachasim echazkasan, the belongings need to remain in their possessions. That you need to hold on to them until we figure it out. Now, if you are thinking, 1 second, what does it mean? Let it stay by whoever's holding on to it. Who's holding on to it? Which Yarshim are holding on to it? Are the Yarshei Ha'em holding on to it, or are the Yarshei Haben holding on? Like who should actually hold it until then? So it says Rashi, upligi amiroi, and the Amiroim argue on this Mishnah over there, ufligi amiroi, and the Amiroim argue becheskas mi, in whose possession, who's actually holding on to it. V'hasam efarish and over there, they actually explain the reasons for all that. So over there in the Gemara, over there explains everything, and we're not going to get into it over here. So now in the answer of the Gemara, Shema v'Shema, in the case of the house falling, they're both maybe and maybe. Shneim, both of them, Utz and Yitzchak, Mikoyach Shema boim. They're coming with a claim of maybe. They're coming with a strength of a maybe. Hilkach, therefore, what should be the din? Leave the money in its holdings where it is right now. Hacha bari v'Shema. But over here, it's a maybe and it's a maybe and certain. It's a bari v'Shema. Kol echad ve'echad. Every one of the 5 people, Omer says, Oisi Gazel, you stole from me. I knew that means Tainas Vadai. That's a claim of certainty, for sure. Saying, you for sure stole it from me. Vize Omer Eini Idea. And this one, the Ganev, is saying, I don't know. Ubari Adif Mishemo. And certain is better than maybe. We listen to someone who is certain. Okay, with that we'll conclude Chelik Aleph of our Sugya. Now, let's go back to Havana. And what the Gemara is going to do for the rest of the Sugya is the Gemara is going to challenge what we said, that Bari v'Shema equals Misfeika Mafkina Mamayna. Okay? The Gemara is going to challenge it. How do you know that every time in a case of Bari v'Shema we say Misfeika Mafkina Mamayna? How do you know that that's the reason? Okay, so again, how do we know that because Bari v'Shem, because it's maybe uncertain, that's why you need to take out more money? And the Gemara asks, 1 second, our Mishnah, when someone told 2 people, I stole from one of you, I don't know who it is, which this is a case of Shema v'Shema, we see that you need nice and you need to give both of them a money. So we see that also in a case of Shema v'Shema, we also say Misfeika Mafkina Mamayna. So how could you tell me, how could the Gemara answer before that, oh, you know why Misfeika Mafkina Mamayna? You know why we take out more money? Because Bari v'Shema. No, that's not the reason. Because we see also over here when it's Shema v'Shema, and still Misfeika Mafkina Mamayna. Still we take out money, even in a case maybe or maybe. So how do you know over here, the reason why you take out money is because they're all certain. Over here they're not certain. No one's certain over here. And you still say take out more money. And for the Gemara, how do you know that this is Rabbi Akiva? Maybe this is not Rabbi Akiva. And for the Gemara to that, so this actually comes, the answer to the Gemara comes like a question. How do you know? The Gemara's question was, but we see in the Mishnah, Shem v'Shema is Misfeika Mafkina Mamayna. So this answer doesn't work. Right? So the Gemara asks on that question, how do you know it's Rabbi Akiva? And now it comes in a way of an answer. I'll tell you how I know it's Rabbi Akiva. Because in last Sugya we said that Rabbi Tarfon admits in the case of our Mishnah that the din will be that you pay each one. Okay, we said last Sugya, Rabbi Tarfon admits, when someone tells 2 people, right? Gazalti le'echem mikem mana, I stole from one of you a mana, ve'eni yodea eze mikem, and I don't know which one of you, that what should be the din, she'noisen l'zemana v'l'zemana, that you give each one a mana. So Rabbi Tarfon admits, in this case, that you pay both. 1 second, who is Rabbi Tarfon admitting to? He's admitting to the person who he always argues with, Rabbi Akiva. So that's how I know that Rabbi Akiva holds of this. So for sure, Rabbi Akiva holds that in a case of Shema v'Shema, Mafkina Mamayna, we take out money. So we're back to square one. We're back to the question, how could you say that the reason why Misfeika Mafkina Mamayna is because Bari v'Shema, because this case is Bari v'Shema, we see also here Shema v'Shema, we say take out more money. Okay, so now the Gemara is going to try something else. The Gemara is going to try, hey, how do you know this Mishnah is Shema v'Shema? Maybe it's Bari v'Shema. Maybe these people are certain that each one is saying, you stole from me. Right? Maybe it's Bari v'Shema, and that's why Misfeika Mafkina Mamayna. And for the Gemara to that, well, there's 2 reasons how I know that these guys are not certain. First of all, the Mishnah doesn't say anything that they said that they're certain. The Mishnah doesn't say it. So you can't tell me that these guys are saying you stole from me. The Mishnah doesn't say that, right? It doesn't say in our Mishnah that they were demanding him. So they aren't. So that means that they're not bari, right? Second reason why I know that they're not bari is because we checked in the version of Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia had a version of the Mishnah that said clearly. I guess it was more. Rabbi Chia's version was more elaborate. The same halacha, but more elaborate. And his halacha said that this guy came and said, the Ganivs came and said, I stole from one of you a money, I don't know who. And both of them answered, I don't know. This one says, I don't know, and this one says, I don't know. So we know. So it can be that this case is bari ושמא. It must be that this case is shema ושמא. And for the Gemara, last answer, right? It must be that this is shema ושמא. And how could it be mistake mafkin amayna? And for the Gemara, last answer, we established already last sugya. We already said last sugya that our Mishnah is talking about someone is coming to clean, to do tshuva and to clean his name from Shemayim. Right? He's not just doing the regular. He's doing more than the regular. That's why our Mishnah, he needs to pay both. Therefore, our Mishnah is mistake mafkinam amayna. Even though it's shema v'shema, still he needs to do mafkinam amayna. Why? Because he's coming to be clean from Shemayim. But in general, what does Rabbi Akiva hold? Rabbi Akiva holds when it's bari v'shema, when they're certain and he's maybe, then you say mafkinam amayna. Then we say take out more money. And with that we conclude this sugya. Let's learn this piece of Gemara inside. Chelik Beis. The whole back and forth. Let's go back to open up our Gemara. Again, Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Beis. We're holding probably in the middle of the page. Frag the Gemara, how could you say that when do you take out more money? When it's bari v'shem, when it's certain and maybe. But our Mishnah over here, meaning the Mishnah on last Amud, Amar L'shnaim, what's the Mishnah? Amar L'shnaim, if he told two people, Gazalti lechad mikem maneh, I stole from one of your maneh, the shema v'shemahu, that's a case of maybe and maybe. Our Mishnah is a case of maybe and maybe. The katani, and it says, we learned, they need to give each one a maneh. So 1 second, how could you tell me that you need a mafkinim a money, you need to take out money when it's bari v'shema? We see also shema v'shema, you take out money. So the Gemara asks on that, okay, which comes out to be an answer, but it's written in a way of a question. Umimai Rabbi Akiva hi, and from where do you know? And how do you know that our Mishnah is Rabbi Akiva? So the Gemara answers to that, and really ends up leaving us with a question. The katani Allah, because it says about it, the haihi of that, it says, we learned it earlier, it says about it that Moide Rabbi Tarfon admits, and we learned this last sugya, Rabbi Tarfon admits, when someone tells two people, Gazalti lechem mikem maneh, I stole from one of you a maneh, and I don't know which one of you, chulu, etc. We learned the last Amud. So, what do we see from here? Leman Moide. Who would Rabbi Tarfon be Moide to? Who is Rabbi Tarfon admitting to? Lav doesn't mean Rabbi Akiva, to Rabbi Akiva, Bar Plukte, his opponent. Meaning Bar Plukte means the person who he would always argue with. It says Rabbi Tarfon would admit in our Mishnah, in the case of our Mishnah. Who do you think he would admit to? Obviously Rabbi Akiva. Obviously Rabbi Akiva holds like our Mishnah. So it must mean that Rabbi Akiva holds like our Mishnah. If Rabbi Akiva holds like our Mishnah is Shema v'Shema and Mafkina Mamayna. So how can you say that Rabbi Akiva holds only Bari v'Shema Mafkina Mamayna? So now the Gemara goes on to attempt number 2 to try to answer. Umimai, and how do you know the Shema v'Shema? That it's a maybe and maybe. How do you know our Mishnah is maybe and maybe? Maybe in our Mishnah, the two people are demanding, are saying, you stole from me. Maybe it's Bari v'Shema. Maybe that's why I need to pay everyone, because it's Bari v'Shema. And for the Gemara, Chada, one way how I know that our Mishnah is Shema v'Shema, the Loi Katani, because it doesn't say in our Mishnah, Toivi Noisai, that the two people were claiming him. were demanding him. Doesn't say that they were demanding him. V'oid, and another reason why I know that our Mishnah is only Shema v'Shema and not Bari v'Shema. V'oid, and even more, Hatani Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia learned in his version that he learned a more elaborate version of the Mishnah, that both of the people in the Mishnah say this one says I don't know, and this one says I don't know. So it must be a case of Bari v'Shema. Sorry, Shema v'Shema. And still we say Mafkin Mamoina. So how could you say that Rabbi Akiva holds Mafkin Mamoina because it's Bari v'Shema? Back to square one. And for the Gemara, final answer. Ho kimno, we establish it. We established that our Mishnah is talking about. Ho kimno lo, we established to it. That the Ganav in our Mishnah is coming to clean his name, to fulfill his duty in relation to Hashem. So therefore, he needs to pay extra. He needs to pay everyone off, even though it's Shema v'Shema. But in general, what would Rabbi Akiva hold the halacha would be? He would hold you only take out money when it's Bari v'Shema. All questions answered. Rashi. Aloda'ahi. We learned about it. We learned about it. On it. The Gaz Alecha Nechamisha. We learned clearly about. When someone stole from one of 5 people, right? We're back in last Amud when we brought down the Mishnah from Maseches Yevamos. Chada, one reason how I know that our Mishnah on last Amud is Shema v'Shema. One reason, Loi Katani, because it doesn't say, right? Loi Katani Masnisin. It doesn't say in our Mishnah, Toivin say that the 2 people were demanding the Ganev. The Lo Katani Oisi Gazal. It doesn't say that they said you stole from me, like it says in the Mishnah in Maseches Yevamos. Hachi Garsina, and this is how we're supposed to have this version. This is how we're supposed to read the Gemara. V'oid, and another reason, Hatani Rabbi Chia. Rabbi Chia said, Ze'oimer eini yedea, v'ze'oimer eini yedea. This one says I don't know, and this one says I don't know. V'loi Garsinan, and we do not have the version Yachloiku that they should divide it. V'hachi Pirushay, and this is the explanation of the Gemara. This is Rashi now explains the Gemara. V'oid, and another reason how I know that our Mishnah is a case of Shema v'Shema. Hatani Rabbi Chia lahach masnisa. Rabbi Chia taught this Mishnah. The Gazalti es echad mehem. That the Ganav comes and says, I stole from one of you. B'toisefta delay, and in his Toisefta, in his version of the additions onto the Mishnah, v'tanilo, and he learned this. Hachi, so like this. He learned it like this. If someone comes and tells 2 people, Gazalti echad mikem, I stole from one of you, and I don't know who I stole from, and this person says, I don't know, and this person says, I don't know. Each one says, maybe you stole from me, I don't know. Then what would be the din? You give a mana to each one, chulu, etc. As it says in our Mishnah. Alma, so we see from here, from the version that Rabbi Chia taught it, right? We see, Alma we see, B'Shema v'Shema askinan. We're dealing with a maybe and maybe. And that is the last Rashi of our Sugya. Hatzlacha, Rabba, Umuflaga.